The Young and the Restless. Spoilers Saturdays. For one, the 11th of July, 2026 Friday's episode of The Young and the Restless is shaping up to be one of those installments where the emotional damage of the previous day does not simply fade into the background. Instead, it expands, spreads, and begins pulling nearly every major family in Genoa City into the same storm. The spoilers for Friday, July 10, point to a city still reeling from Patty Williams' violent outburst, a hospital shaken by the terrifying injection Diane Jenkins Abbott received, and an Abbott family that may finally be forced to confront the full consequences of a threat they could not stop in time. Diane's fate will be revealed after Patty stabbed her in the neck with a syringe containing a mysterious substance, and that revelation could change the direction of the entire storyline. At the same time, Ashley Abbott returns to Genoa City just as Jack Abbott wakes into a nightmare that is far from over. Nikki Newman is trying to adjust to a new and frightening life after losing her sight following surgery on her optic nerve, while Victor Newman prepares to make a surprising announcement that may not only affect the Newman family but also reopen dangerous questions about his role in bringing Patty back into Jack and Diane's orbit. By the end of Friday's episode, Genoa City may be left asking whether Patty alone is responsible for the chaos, or whether Victor's choices helped light the match that burned down everything around him. The most urgent question, of course, is Diane's condition. Thursday's episode left her in a terrifying position after Patty's attempt to silence Jack went horribly wrong. Patty had entered the hospital disguised as a nurse, carrying a syringe that was apparently meant to end Jack Abbott's life, or at least push him so far back into darkness that he would never be able to expose her. Jack was the one person Patty could not allow to speak clearly. If he woke up, remembered the attack, and named Patty as the real threat, the entire lie built around Diane would begin to collapse. That is why Patty's plan was so desperate. She did not sneak into Jack's room to create confusion or make a symbolic threat. She came with something dangerous enough that viewers were led to believe it was intended to kill Jack. Fortunately, Jack's guard interrupted her before she could inject the substance into his vein, but that did not end the danger. It only moved the danger into the hallway, where Diane and Kyle Abbott saw Patty leaving Jack's room and immediately understood that something was terribly wrong. The chase that followed was not just a physical pursuit. It was Diane and Kyle running toward the truth, toward justice, and toward the one chance they had to stop Patty before she vanished into another layer of lies. Diane's decision to block Patty may prove both heroic and devastating. She had every reason to be afraid. Patty was unstable, armed, cornered, and desperate. Yet Diane did not step aside. She could not. Jack was vulnerable behind her, Kyle was beside her, and the entire nightmare that had framed her as a villain was finally exposing its real face. In that moment, Diane was not thinking like a woman trying to protect her reputation. She was thinking like a woman trying to protect the man she loves and the son who had already suffered enough. But Patty, true to her dangerous pattern, made one final move before she could be stopped. She struck Diane in the neck with the syringe, forcing whatever unknown substance she had prepared for Jack into Diane's body instead. Kyle caught his mother as she collapsed, and the fact that they were already inside the hospital may be the only reason Diane still has a chance. If this attack had happened at the Abbott mansion, outside in a parking lot, or anywhere far from emergency care, Diane might have been doomed before anyone could even identify what had been injected into her. But because Kyle could rush her directly toward doctors, there may still be a path to survival, though survival does not necessarily mean immediate recovery. Friday's episode should reveal whether Diane is stable, unconscious, in a coma, or facing a more complicated medical crisis. The show has not fully revealed what was inside Patty's syringe, and that uncertainty gives the hospital scenes a dangerous edge. Doctors may not know exactly what they are treating at first. They may have to work backward from Diane's symptoms, trying to determine whether the drug is a poison, a paralytic, a sedative, a cardiac threat, or something designed to shut down vital functions slowly. Kyle may be forced to give frantic details while barely able to process what has happened. He saw Patty. He saw the syringe. He saw Diane fall. But he does not know what was in that needle, and that lack of knowledge could make every second feel like a lifetime. The medical team may act quickly, running tests, stabilizing her breathing, checking her pulse, monitoring her neurological responses, and searching for any clue that might identify the substance. Yet Diane's condition may remain uncertain long enough to torture everyone who loves her. If she slips into a coma, the emotional impact will be enormous, especially because Jack has just regained consciousness. Jack waking up should be a blessing, but Friday's spoilers suggest that his return to awareness comes at the worst possible time. The good news is that Jack is alive and awake. The terrible news is that Diane, the woman he loves, may now be the one fighting to survive. That creates a brutal emotional reversal. For days, Diane and Kyle were waiting for Jack to wake up because his voice could save Diane from suspicion and expose Patty's guilt. Now, Jack may wake up into a world where Diane is not at his bedside, not because she abandoned him, not because she is hiding, and not because she is still being blamed, but because she was attacked while trying to stop the woman who came to silence him. Jack is intelligent enough and emotionally connected enough to know that Diane's absence means something. If Diane were conscious and able, she would be beside him immediately. She would be holding his hand, demanding answers, crying with relief, and promising him that the worst was almost over. If she is missing, Jack will sense the truth before anyone says it aloud. That may put Ashley Abbott in a difficult position the moment she returns to Genoa City. Ashley's arrival could not come at a more critical moment. She is coming home to be with Jack, but she is walking into a crisis that is bigger than one injured brother. She will find Jack awake but fragile, Diane in danger, Kyle traumatized, Patty exposed as more dangerous than ever, and the entire Abbott family struggling to decide how much truth Jack can handle. Ashley's first instinct may be to protect Jack from shock, but she also knows her brother well. Jack does not respond well to being managed, especially when the matter involves Diane. If Ashley tries to soften the truth too much, Jack may push harder. If she tells him everything too quickly, the emotional blow could threaten his recovery. That is the terrible balance Ashley must strike. She has to soothe his fear without lying to him, support his healing without treating him like a child, and help Kyle hold himself together while the family waits for Diane's prognosis. Ashley has always been capable of strength under pressure, but this situation may test even her. She may have to become the emotional center of the Abbott family at the exact moment when everyone else is breaking. Jack's reaction to Diane's crisis could become one of the most heartbreaking moments of Friday's episode. He may be weak, still recovering from the attack that nearly killed him, but once he learns that Diane was injected by Patty while trying to stop her, his fear may turn into rage. Jack could blame himself, even though he did not cause Patty's madness. The syringe was meant for him. Diane was hurt because Patty came back to finish what she started. That knowledge may torment Jack. He may feel as if Diane paid the price for loving him, for defending him, and for refusing to let Patty hurt him again. This kind of guilt can be powerful in a soap storyline because it does not need to be rational to be emotionally true. Jack may know, intellectually, that Patty is responsible. But emotionally, he may still feel that Diane is lying unconscious because she put herself between Patty and him. Ashley may have to remind him that Diane made her own choice, that Patty is the guilty one, and that Jack's best way to help Diane now is to survive, recover, and tell the truth. Kyle, meanwhile, could be completely shattered. He has already been living through a nightmare in which his father was attacked and his mother was accused. Now he may have to stand outside another hospital room, waiting for updates on Diane while Jack demands answers from his own bed. Kyle may feel pulled in two directions, physically and emotionally. He wants to be with Diane, but Jack needs him. He wants to trust the doctors, but he cannot stop replaying the moment Patty struck. He wants the police to act, but Detective Burrow's handling of the case may have already destroyed Kyle's patience. If Burrow failed to see Patty's danger earlier, if he leaned too heavily toward Diane as the suspect, or if he allowed Patty too much room to maneuver, Kyle may explode. Friday could show Kyle moving from grief into fury, especially if Diane's condition is critical. He may no longer be willing to wait for official channels to catch up. If Patty is still loose, Kyle may decide that protecting his family requires action. If Patty has been detained, Kyle may demand answers about who helped her, how she got the disguise, where she got the drug, and why the hospital was not secure enough to stop her sooner. This is where Patty's violent rampage leaves long-term consequences. Her actions do not just harm Diane and threaten Jack. They expose weaknesses in every system around them. Hospital security failed. The police investigation failed to fully protect the right people. The family's attempts to manage the truth may create new emotional damage. Even Victor Newman may soon be pulled into the mess because the question of how Patty returned to Genoa City matters more than ever. If Victor played any role in bringing Patty back, encouraging her presence, using her, or underestimating how unstable she was, then he cannot simply stand outside this tragedy and pretend it belongs only to the Abbotts. Victor may not have held the syringe. He may not have told Patty to attack Diane. But in Genoa City, responsibility is rarely that simple. Powerful people make moves. Those moves have consequences. If Victor opened a door for Patty, and Patty used that opening to terrorize Jack and Diane, then Victor may have to face the possibility that his strategy created a disaster he can no longer control. That possibility becomes even more complicated because Nikki Newman is in a fragile place after her surgery. At the Newman Ranch, Friday's spoilers suggest Nikki will struggle to adapt to her new normal after losing her sight. She is recovering from surgery to remove a tumor on her optic nerve, and while the operation may have been necessary, the aftermath is terrifying. Nikki is used to moving through the ranch as if it were an extension of herself. Every room, every piece of furniture, every familiar path should feel safe. But without her vision, even home becomes unfamiliar. Walking across a room may require trust. Pouring a glass of water may become difficult. Finding a chair, recognizing someone's presence, or moving without fear of falling may demand patience she does not yet have. Nikki has survived addiction, illness, trauma, family wars, and Victor's endless secrets. But losing her sight places her in a uniquely vulnerable position. It forces her to depend on others in a way she may not enjoy, and it forces her family to see her pain up close. The Newman family may surround Nikki with support, but support cannot erase fear. Nikki may be grateful and frustrated at the same time. She may appreciate her family's help while hating the feeling of being watched, guided, or treated as fragile. Victor, in particular, may try to take control of her recovery. He might bring in specialists, nurses, therapists, or private assistants. That could be part of his surprising announcement. He may declare that he has arranged for a new medical team, a rehabilitation plan, or a major change at the ranch to help Nikki adjust. On the surface, that would sound loving. Victor often expresses devotion through control, resources, and decisive action. But Nikki may not respond the way he expects if she feels he is making decisions for her instead of with her. Her recovery may require patience and emotional honesty, not just money and power. If Victor announces something that affects her life without consulting her, it could create tension even before the darker issue of Patty comes into play. However, Victor's announcement may be about more than Nikki's recovery. It could involve business, the Newman family, the Abbotts, or the fallout from Jack and Diane's crisis. Perhaps Victor learns what happened at the hospital and decides he needs to get ahead of the damage. Perhaps he tells Nikki and the family that Patty attacked Diane. Perhaps he admits more than anyone expected. Or perhaps he tries to frame the situation in a way that minimizes his own involvement. If Victor brought Patty back to Genoa City, then he may know that the story is moving toward him whether he likes it or not. His announcement could be an attempt to control the narrative before someone else does. Victor Newman does not like being cornered, and when he senses danger, he often moves first. The problem is that this time, the danger is not just corporate or political. It is personal. Jack nearly died. Diane may be in a coma. Kyle is furious. Ashley is back. Nikki is vulnerable. And Patty's actions have created a trail that may lead uncomfortably close to Victor's choices. Nikki's response could be the most important one. If Victor tells her that Patty was involved in another attack, she may initially be horrified for Jack and Diane. But if she then learns that Victor had a role in bringing Patty back, the emotional temperature changes completely. Nikki may ask him how he could be so reckless. She may accuse him of putting his feud with Jack, his need for control, or his obsession with strategy above basic human decency. Victor may insist that he never intended for things to go this far. He may argue that Patty made her own choices. He may say that no one could have predicted she would inject Diane or try to silence Jack. But Nikki may not accept that. Patty's instability is not a secret. Anyone who uses someone like Patty as a pawn has to accept responsibility when the pawn becomes a weapon. For Nikki, who is already struggling with her own loss of independence, Victor's manipulation may feel especially unforgivable. She may see a pattern, Victor controlling information, controlling people, controlling outcomes, and then claiming innocence when the damage becomes too great to hide. This could make a reunion between Victor and Nikki almost impossible at the moment. They may still love each other, but love does not erase betrayal, especially when that betrayal involves innocent people being harmed. Nikki may feel that she cannot rely on Victor emotionally while he continues to operate in secrecy. She may need honesty more than protection. If Victor's announcement is meant to bring the family together, it may instead expose the cracks in his own marriage. If he expects sympathy because he feels guilt, Nikki may not be ready to give it. If he expects forgiveness because he did not personally inject Diane, Nikki may remind him that consequences do not care about technicalities. Jack and Diane's suffering could become the issue that forces Nikki to reassess whether Victor's love is worth the constant chaos attached to it. The Abbott side of the story may also respond fiercely if Victor's connection to Patty becomes known. Ashley will not be calm if she believes Victor helped set the stage for her brother's suffering. Kyle will be even less forgiving if Diane's condition remains serious. Jack, once strong enough, may see Victor's involvement as a betrayal beyond their usual rivalry. The Newman-Abbott feud has always included business schemes, romantic complications, old grudges, and personal attacks, but this could cross into something darker. If Victor's decisions helped unleash Patty, then the feud is no longer about power. It is about blood, trauma, and nearly fatal consequences. Victor may try to separate intention from outcome, but the Abbotts may not care what he intended. They will care that Jack was almost silenced and Diane nearly died because Patty was allowed back into their lives. Friday's episode may therefore become a transition point from immediate crisis to long-term war. Diane's condition reveals the medical stakes. Ashley's return reveals the Abbott family's emotional response. Nikki's struggle reveals the personal cost inside the Newman home. Victor's announcement reveals that the consequences may reach far beyond the hospital. Patty's violence may be the spark, but the fire could spread through every major relationship connected to Jack, Diane, Nikki, and Victor. If Diane survives, she may wake with crucial memories that help destroy Patty's lies. If she remains unconscious, her silence may become a painful symbol of everything Patty tried to erase. If Jack is told the truth too soon, his recovery may be threatened. If he is kept in the dark too long, his trust in his family may suffer. If Ashley takes charge, she may become the force that pushes the Abbotts into action. If Kyle loses control, he may make a move that creates even more trouble. And if Victor thinks he can solve this with one announcement, he may be underestimating the emotional fury coming his way. The most powerful part of this storyline is that everyone is trapped by the consequences of choices made before Friday begins. Patty chose obsession over reason. Diane chose courage over safety. Kyle chose to chase the truth no matter how painful it became. Ashley chose to come home when her family needed her. Nikki chose to face recovery even though blindness has changed her world. Victor chose secrecy, strategy, and control, and now he may have to face the wreckage those choices created. Genoa City does not forgive easily when blood is spilled, and Friday's episode may prove that Patty's syringe did more than threaten Diane's life. It may have punctured the illusion that Victor can move people around like pieces on a chessboard without consequences. By the time the episode ends, Diane's fate may be clearer, but the future of everyone around her could be more uncertain than ever. If doctors announce that Diane will live but may not wake up soon, Jack will be thrown into a new kind of agony. If Diane shows signs of recovery, Patty's danger will not disappear, because Diane may become the witness who can expose her. If Ashley learns exactly how close Jack came to another fatal attack, she may vow to tear apart anyone who enabled Patty. If Nikki hears Victor's announcement and senses that he is hiding even one piece of the truth, their relationship may fracture further at the very moment she needs stability most. And if Victor's role in Patty's return finally comes to light, the Newman patriarch may discover that this time, no amount of power, money, or intimidation can protect him from the rage of a family that nearly lost everything. Diane may be the one lying in a hospital bed, but Victor could be the one who wakes up on Friday to realize that Patty's final strike has turned Jack Abbott's pain into a war he cannot control.